Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt podcast. Tonight we have Ryan Arbon, Sheriff Ryan Arbon. Nice to have you, Sheriff. It's been a while since we've talked, and you've got a lot of things going on now.
We do. We have a ton of things, and thank you for having me. Appreciate it, John.
Yeah. So let's talk first about your major concerns and things that you think, and then we'll talk a little bit about this project you've got at the jail.
Well, so some of the things that we're dealing with now is the ongoing recruitment retention. That's just something that many, if not all, agencies are struggling with. We're down quite a bit in the correction facility. We're some down in enforcement. I've attended several conferences. I've attended some trainings, and this is a nationwide issue that we're struggling with. And we're just seeing not so many people interested in the career. And with that, there's a wage war. So those that are within an agency, they're finding out that other agencies are paying more, so they'll want to go somewhere else. And so we're kind of just switching seats. And back to the recruiting, we're getting less people wanting to come in. When I came into this profession, there would be 2 or 3 positions open. You'd have 200 people apply. Right now, in one just recently, we had 30 positions and we had like 26 apply.
Wow.
And so, and the candidate, honestly, the pool of candidates is just not the caliber that we would hope they were. And it's a challenge.
Well, I was talking to someone the other day about some of the programs they've got going on in high school now where
Yes.
the school kids actually go and do some training, right? And one of the concerns was by the time they're finished with their program, they can't become police officers because they're too young. But then someone brought up the idea that, well, they can start in corrections, right?
They can. They passed the law, as you know, just a year or so, 2 years ago, I think, and it was 19-year-olds can go in corrections. They can't be weapons certified, but they can start out in corrections at a level that is workable for the challenge that they have, and they can start their career sooner. And then you have the cadet programs and such where they start out in high school, and they can come and do internship like work and get acclimated and understanding, and hopefully want to start their career, know what they want to do from that point on.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's a great idea because you've got kids that, are bumped up about it going through these programs, and then they have to wait quite a while before they can actually be an officer, right?
Yeah.
But that would be a nice way to kind of grow your own people, right? They can get familiar with everybody. They can, you could have some training things for them as they're interning, that might be a really fruitful area. I think that's why they passed that bill.
Yes, it is. It helps, and we've seen some success from that.
Oh, you have?
We have. We've got a few 19-year-olds now that are working with us, some that are 20.
So what's going on out at the jail? I know you're running out of space, and you've got a proposal forward now. What do you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that?
You bet. So the sheriff's office executive team and some others, architects, for about 3.5 years, we have been working on proper expansion. When they did a feasibility study 25 years ago, it said to build this current facility that we're in now, and then a couple of years later add on some pods for growth. And that never happened, but what did happen is they kept the old Kiesel jail running. And so it's a lot of challenges there. It's high maintenance year to year, fixing. Just to give you a look inside or an idea, the air conditioning and heating system is still manual valves. And so to make these changes is just millions of dollars to make these proper upgrades, but it's still in use. And another example is the older section. There's a pod section that was built in the 90s, and there was a linear section, 5 stories, built in, I believe, in the early 80s. The linear section takes 5 deputies to supervise 30 inmates. And where now the pods that they designed today, you can have up to 280 inmates supervised by 3 deputies.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there's advancements in technology and design that we're looking for and focus on. And with this bond that we are proposing, we're not buying any additional property to make this expansion work. It'll actually help reduce costs, especially the maintenance from the Kiesel facility. And we're not adding additional staff to make this run.
So is the idea that the Kiesel facility will be phased out then?
So it'll be phased out. We do have interested groups like the feds want to come in and they're doing their own feasibility study if this is something that they want to buy, if they want to contract through. But the idea is to move away from that and then move into this newer facility where it can accommodate what the judges and the prosecutors want and have those tools and programs available for the court system. And so we really like what we're seeing. The other thing too, John, is the original plan 2.5 years ago was cost was $62.5 million to build. It was 2 pods, a medical mental health wing, and also a new work release center. That same design today is now $140 million. And when we saw the numbers, we thought this is too much. This is not something the public needs. We went back and had all the data we needed from COVID. We had the data from the recent years, the crime spikes and what the true needs were. We added to the data. We actually made several trips across the United States to other counties that were doing these other programs. And we found out this new proposal that we have, that we've had about 6-8 months now, is the right way. And it's $98 million. And in the bond, it says the bond will not cost, it's up to 98. We believe that the cost will come in less based on our analysis from the architects. But we don't want to come back either.
Right.
You
got to have enough to.
Got to have enough. And we're pushing for, when this bond passes and we do build it less, the loan, if you will, is less, which will be an incentive to the voters and the taxpayers to have a less. Right now, that bond amount is $4.51 per average household of about $470,000, and a small or a business owner, it's $8.20 is what it will cost for 21 years.
So yeah, that's a nice thing about having a revenue bond, right?
Yes.
You don't pay all of it; you pay it
Yep.
over time. So,
and once it's paid off, it's done. It's not like a tax where you vote and it just continues. It shuts off, and then you don't pay for it.
and that part goes
Yep.
away.
Yep.
You brought some film with you, so let's watch a video that actually shows us the design and what you're going to do there. Okay, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ryan Arbon, Sheriff of Weber County. Today I want to share some information about the general obligation bond, which will fund the Weber Justice Center. Back in 2000, when this facility was completed, it was designed to have enough beds for 888 inmates. And also the design at the time created 6 medical and mental health cells to address the population that was here. At the time, we were a population in Weber County of just about 200,000. Now we're approaching 270,000. And in that time, we had the medical mental health crisis. We have a goal to help teach these individuals to be self-sufficient and contribute to society in a positive way. With our current facility, we are unable to do that to the extent that we had hoped to. Why do we want this expansion to occur? There's 4 main reasons. Number 1, first and foremost, our priority is public safety. Number 2 is proper custodial care. Number 3, decrease operational costs. And 4, reduce recidivism. There's a lot of businesses out there that focus on addiction recovery, mental health, and other challenges that are facing those that are in our justice system. And in this proposal, we're inviting all these agencies to come together and give them some office space so they can collaborate and work together. And in this proposal, we have seen data and information that show this is something that works, and it will help reduce recidivism.
Hi, I'm Philip Reese. I have the privilege of serving as Chief Deputy of Corrections. I would like to share with you what some of the funds from the bond will be used for. We will be renovating some of our existing office space to improve our medical area, including an infirmary and additional clinical space for our doctors and nurses to be efficient and effective in providing care for our incarcerated population. Our current medical unit has 2 exam rooms and a dental room. We currently provide mental health services in a cubicle that's less than 6 feet wide and less than 8 feet deep. What we are proposing will give appropriate clinical space as well as infirmary space for those that are in our custodial care. Every time we transport an individual out of our facility, risk occurs to our community. A proposal in this jail expansion is to create a transportation area that prevents cross-contamination, meaning that individuals will go down, be prepared to leave our facility, and then come back into our facility through a different route. One of the renovations that's being proposed is an expanded video court that will also provide appropriate infrastructure as we move forward. Video court allows individuals to stay within the secure portion of our facility and still meet all of their legal requirements safely. We succeed because of our amazing staff, their dedication and ingenuity of being able to get large tasks accomplished on a day in and day out basis. We don't succeed because of the design of our facility. What we're proposing is to increase our opportunity for success because the facility will support our staff in an appropriate way. What this bond will do is be able to give us those resources, give us the infrastructure to provide the services that we are. We will still lock up bad people. That is part of what we're responsible of doing. But we will also be able to provide appropriate services for those individuals that are going to come back into our society.
So Sheriff, you've got some photos with you and stuff. Why don't you kind of describe for us what's going to happen with this, and maybe
Sure.
I've seen the pictures. They're really beautiful.
Yeah, we put a lot of thought in this. Like I mentioned earlier, it's been about 3.5 years, but we saw a need. For example, 20 years ago, when the jail was completed, we had 6 medical beds. And at that time, we weren't having a mental health crisis. We weren't dealing with the opioid problems that we're having today. And so as time has gone on, you've seen these problems just become a bigger and bigger problem. And so when someone's arrested for committing a crime, a lot of our data is showing, according to state and national data, somewhere around 50 to 60% of all these individuals that are arrested, they're on a drug, or they have some mental health or addiction problem. And so when they come to the facility, it becomes our problem to help and deal with. And we want to give them the service and care that they should have, number one. And so with this expanded problem, our needs and what the facility should have is antiquated. It's outdated. It needs to be changed. So in our proposal, when we were looking at numbers on the build, we found out a hard facility or correctional type facilities around $700 a square foot. That's a lot of money. And then the facilities that we're trying to build, which includes a renovation, is around $400 to $450 a square foot. So where my office is, and the clerks, and where the patrol and detectives are, the plan is to renovate that. And so that will become our medical and mental health. We'll add 16 beds for
because that's attached directly to the.
It's already part of the facility. Yep, and it's centrally located. It's the proper location for when the inmates or the arrestees come in. And so we will renovate that to save money, to make that, have a clinic in there, an infirmary, and to have the 16 beds for female and 32 for the males. And what this also does is we're having these struggles with these individuals is some of them are in general population. And so by pulling them out and putting them in the right area that they should be, it also relieve the pressure because we're operating near high capacity all the time. And so that'll allow bed space to be freed up for those that need to be incarcerated, right? And the other part of the plan is where am I going to go? Where's my staff going to go? So we're proposing another building out just on the corner from my office, 12th and Depot, and it's a multi-story building, and the first 2 stories is a work release center. And what that is minimum security. So again, we can build that at a cheaper rate. And we'll have diversion programs in there. Pretrial services will be available when they pass the law for pretrial and so forth that you're familiar with, John. We have almost 500 people that are on pretrial. It's basically pretrials where, you're released out of jail, but you have to check in, and they check in at our jail. That make sure they're there. They know about their court dates. If they have to blow into a breathalyzer, they do that. There's other several checks, but it's a lot. And so the first 2 will be male and female. And then on the second floor, what we're doing something that's really neat that I think is very key to the success. Part of our plan is how do we legitimately reduce recidivism, those reoffenders. And so what we've done is earlier I told you that we traveled to several counties across the United States. We found this program where they brought all the, we're calling them allied agencies or partners throughout the community. You got Weber Human Services, you got Lantern House, you got other programs of addiction and recovery, the MCOT team. And when you bring these services together, they collaborate. So we're building a space for them so they can collaborate. So we want reentry to start the day that they come into our facility, not the day that they're released. And the data shows that when you start that reentry, that programming, that when they first come into the jail, there's a much higher chance that they'll be successful when they're released and back to the public. And they're a lot more successful because talking with sheriffs across the United States that are dealing with the same issues we are, their words and things they say, we're tired of the revolving door. Come into jail, they serve their time, they go back out, they commit a crime, they come back in. But this work release program that we are asking the public to get behind and support, they'll bring them all together. They can collaborate and work together and find the right solutions. And then on the top story will be where the new Sheriff's Office administration and patrol will be relocated. And so that's generally the plan that we believe that's going to work. And it's taken a long time, but we got there, and it looks very positive, very positive.
So that building then, will it kind of reface the existing jail, or how?
So the new,
because I noticed that there were several stories, and then
yes,
it's the windows, and
so it'll be located on the opposite side of us, where our current facility. There's a juvenile facility in the middle, and then we'll be on the corner. But one of the key aspects of this facility is to not look like a jail. It's a place, and we're calling it the Weber Justice Center because that's what we believe in. We're going to help with justice to what it's meant to be. And so there is a place that the public and everyone come in on the backside. It will be for staff and so forth, but it is designed to look like a justice center, not a jail. And yeah, it's in the same area as our current jail, the main one on 12th Street. But yeah, it's a great plan.
So then that whole Kiesel building will be vacated, right?
It'll eventually phased out, and who knows what happens. The feds may want it if we have another COVID situation. So COVID's interesting. That was the same time as the riots. And what the riots and COVID taught us is it taught us ultimately resiliency, but also showed us our weaknesses, and it showed us our strengths. And what we weren't planning for, again, obviously, is COVID, but we had to create these quarantine sections. And what that did is it limited our space. So if we have something like COVID or something else, again, we'll be better prepared. And Kiesel, if it's still around, we can still use it as overflow.
Yeah, I had Randy Watt in here last week, and it was interesting talking to him about those riots that were happening around the same time and the differences between Ogden, Weaver, and Salt Lake situation where,
Well, you don't mind if I share something about Randy Watt?
yeah,
So I really respect Randy Watt, and during the call, if you will, there were some threats, and he called and he said, "Hey, I need some deputies. Can you help?" So we sent out a pretty good sized team, and when we got there, knowing COVID and the problems, he come up to me and he says, "Because bottom line, it's about public safety,
right.
right?" And so he comes up to me and he says, "Sheriff, if anybody touches this building or touches deputy, are you going to find space for them in your jail?" I said, "Absolutely," because that's how critical that was at that time, right? We had to stand up for the rights of the citizens, protect their free speech, but also protect businesses and property. But Randy was awesome to work with that time. No nonsense, and he knows his city well.
Yeah. Well, it was amazing. I mean, they basically gave up in Ogden, went to Salt Lake, right?
Well, I think anybody who wants to challenge Randy Watt would sooner give up.
Well, I just like the way you guys handled that. Sheriff, I appreciate you coming and explaining about this jail a little bit. Yeah. Let's just, in closing, we're looking at a bond issue, this county has already approved it being on the ballot, right?
Yes, the county commission a couple months ago unanimously supported it being on this general election ballot, which is in November. The election day is November 21st. It's pushed back 2 weeks. And so you'll see that on the ballot come November. We're pushing out a lot of information through the county and from the sheriff's office. I would invite everyone who's watching this to look at the information and judge for yourself on how important we think we need it. And we would love your support to support this bond. And bottom line is, it's about public safety. It's about reducing recidivism. And that's what we need.
Well, you mentioned during the show that the amount that this was going to impact people.
Yeah,
you could.
Yeah. The bond says in there that it's up to $98 million, and there's key language in there was up to. We think it will cost less. We just want to make sure we had those adjusted costs in there in case there's something that could go over, but not to go over. But it's $4.51 per household, with an average value home of about $470,000. And the small business, I believe, is $8.20. That's the impact. But once it's paid off, it goes away.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always in favor of improving public safety.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Jim.
We'll see you guys next week.
I'm Randy Watt, retired chief of the Ogden Police Department with 36 years of policing Ogden City and Weber County. The upgrade to the Weber County Jail facility is a solid idea of great benefit to the citizens of Weber County. The bond will provide an upgraded facility incorporating evidence-based programs designed to reduce recidivism, provide better medical treatment separate from public facilities, and facilitate a smooth reintegration into society for those offenders who have the greatest likelihood of success. Combined with the construction of a new sheriff's office building to replace the small and outdated current law enforcement facility, the bond is a cost-effective use of taxpayer dollars and will pay excellent dividends to the citizens of Weber County. I support Weber County and Sheriff Arbon's goals, and I highly recommend voting for the bond.